Park Jimin's warning immediately infuriated Suk Hwan, who exclaimed, "Am I a fox spirit then?" After uttering those words, Suk Hwan stood up abruptly. Reflecting on what she had just said, she departed, stating, "It's truly benevolent to be treated as a venomous snake." Talking about appearance, family background, and inner qualities, what do I lack compared to that actress? Park Jimin, just wait. The things that I, Suk Hwan, have set my eyes on from childhood until now, I have never failed to attain. Park Jimin, sooner or later, you will be mine. Despite Park Jimin's wounded self-esteem, his skepticism did not diminish Suk Hwan's feelings for him. On the contrary, it left a deep impression on her. In her thoughts, Park Jimin was both pitiable and infuriating. He was pitiable for being deceived by Oh Young-sil and infuriating for doubting her. Moreover, his feelings for Oh Young-sil were not easily swayed by just a few words. Most importantly, Park Jimin was an outstanding man with all the qualities she desired. Otherwise, she would only feel disgust towards him. Watching Suk Hwan leave in anger, Park Jimin couldn't help shaking his head, muttering, "It's really challenging to handle such a hot-tempered personality. Next time, I should keep my distance a bit." The negotiations between Oh Young-sil and Soo Jong-yu against the On family regarding Park Jimin were not of much concern. After all, as long as she spoke up, he would pump more money into her. Money is something that can touch anyone's heart. Unconsciously, it was already midnight and people began leaving the hotel one by one, each heading home. Many wealthy individuals gathered around Park Jimin to bid farewell, saying, "Chairman Baek Hyun, goodbye. Stay in touch, Chairman Baek Hyun. If you have time, come over to my place. Chairman Baek Hyun, remember to add me on WeChat if you have time." Park Jimin responded to everyone with a bright smile. After everyone had left, Park Jimin also prepared to leave while muttering to himself, "Almost forgot I gave the card to Oh Young-sil. Guess I'll have to catch a ride back." At that moment, Yoo-ah stepped out from the hotel. He was accompanied by a chubby young man with a round face, and what stood out the most were his thick, light brown lips, making him look incredibly adorable. As Yoo-ah approached Park Jimin, he immediately greeted Chairman Baek Hyun. "You look truly magnificent today, expanding my horizons. Let me introduce, this is Jo Joo-hyun, my younger brother. Joo-hyun, the person I've brought you to meet. Whether it works out or not is entirely up to you." In the presence of this male god, the combination of handsomeness and charisma exuded by Park Jimin made the chubby young man feel extremely self-conscious and embarrassed. His entire body trembled, and his face turned as red as a tomato. Park Jimin then asked with a playful tone, "What's the secret you're hiding?" After attempting to regain composure, the chubby young man couldn't completely control the tremor in his voice, and explained, Baek Hyun, Chairman Baek Hyun. Here's the thing. My family has an office building for sale, and I was wondering if you'd be interested." Upon hearing this, Park Jimin felt quite intrigued and inquired, "Office building, the entire one?" Initially, the chubby young man worried that Park Jimin wouldn't pay attention to him, but upon hearing Park Jimin's question, he was overjoyed to the point of forgetting his earlier anxiety. Cheerfully responding, he said, "Exactly, the whole thing. It's a 40-floor building. Each floor is 1,000 square meters. My parents are planning to move to Motto for development, so they want to sell it. Located in the city center, a piece of golden land, about 2 billion or so." Upon hearing these words from the chubby young man, Park Jimin couldn't help but be surprised. And beside him seemed genuinely impressed. 2 billion, I truly am blind. Didn't expect this kid to be a big shot too. After listening, Park Jimin felt very intrigued. He took out his phone, extended it towards the chubby young man, and said, "You can add me as a friend. I will go check it out tomorrow. If you only have this building, I can also consider other options." Park Jimin's words left the chubby young man and stunned. Unexpectedly, Chairman Baek Hyun not only wants to buy a building, but also might consider purchasing an entire urban area. His parents have been trying to sell this building for half a year, and it still hasn't been sold. Moreover, real estate agents have been tirelessly trying to sell it, but without success. At this point, the chubby young man could only wave his hands repeatedly. No, there's not much left. Only this one building. After adding Park Jimin on wet chat, sweat started pouring down the chubby young man's forehead as if he had taken a bath. Thought Chairman Baekhyun would only buy a few floors. Turns out he's buying the whole package. I was even planning to brag a little. Chairman Baekhyun is truly impressive. In the young man's imagination, Chairman Baekhyun was probably only going to buy a few floors of the building. However, when Park Jimin mentioned buying the entire building, this excitement was too much for him to contain. He felt like he was soaring, and joy filled his heart. As the car approached, Park Jimin turned and left. Before getting into the car, he didn't forget to add one more thing. Oh, right, don't contact other potential buyers. I don't like buying things and having to share them with others. The chubby young man nodded vigorously. Yes, Chairman Baekhyun is truly generous. I'll call my dad right away, and we'll go tomorrow. Once everything was settled, UI once again draped his arm over the chubby young man's shoulder and headed back to the hotel. Didn't expect this kid to be so wealthy. His speech impediment must be fake. Nothing more. Hearing this, the chubby young man blushed and hastily explained, all in, it's not like that. My speech impediment is real. Please don't mock me. As Park Jimin got into the taxi, his gaze looked into the distance, lost in thought. Who should I gift this building to? With 2 billion, a normal girl would probably be terrified. I need to find someone with a particularly good mindset. Park Jimin was sitting in the back seat, still contemplating about the building for tomorrow when suddenly the car abruptly braked. He couldn't react in time, and his body, following inertia, thrust forward, slamming into the driver's seat. As he sighed, the driver immediately stuck his head out of the car window, scolding loudly, "Oh my, are you looking for a death wish? Is this girl crazy or something?" Instantly, Park Jimin also recognized this girl, and his mood was no better than the taxi driver's. Isn't this Park Min-young? What on earth is she going crazy about? Today, Park Min-young represented Vinova Software at a charity event. This was an important mission for her from start to finish during the event. Park Min-young just hoped to have a chance to approach Park Jimin to negotiate Vinova Software's investment. However, during the event, there were too many beautiful girls around Park Jimin. Park Min-young had no chance to get close to him, despite the CEO urging her several times over the phone. Even when the event ended, she still didn't have a chance to say a word to Park Jimin. She felt extremely frustrated. Without saying anything, she rushed to her car. However, her attempts to stop the car alarmed both Park Jimin and the driver, who thought she was crazy. The atmosphere in the car became stifling. While the faces of both men were still frozen, looking at her in confusion, Park Min-young coldly glanced at the driver and snapped, "What are you looking at?" "Drive." Her sharp gaze immediately frightened the driver, making him shiver like a scared puppy. This girl is too fierce, like a mother tiger. While Park Jimin was still perplexed by Park Min-young's actions, she too maintained her silence. The aura emanating from her was like a cold breeze, making Park Jimin shiver without feeling cold. In the next moment, she refocused on her mission. Park Min-young's beautiful face turned serious, her eyes burning with determination. This is my last chance, my first job after graduation. I must excel and not disappoint the CEO's expectations. Park Jimin remained calm on the surface. Despite Park Min-young's extraordinary beauty, he remained unaffected. However, her icy demeanor and eccentric behavior still left him bewildered, recalling past encounters. "Hey, Park Hee-hen, if you have something to say, just say it straight. No need for beating around the bush." Externally, Park Jimin appeared composed, but internally, he couldn't help but curse. After being pursued by Seok-won, now I have another layer of frost. Is tonight my unlucky night, encountering all these crazy people? Hearing that, she looked at Park Jimin and spoke assertively. "Indeed, I have something to discuss with you. Today, I represent Finova app, hoping to attract your investment. Our company has great potential, focusing on the social networking sector for young people. Currently, our download count has exceeded 1 million, and daily activities have surpassed 500,000. You can visit our company." Park Jimin, having understood the gist, replied, "This is a social app similar to Facebook. However, it is essentially designed for young people who enjoy showcasing and boasting. Participants in this app tend to have high incomes, mostly being beautiful, wealthy girls. Besides boasting, the app also includes features for shopping, advertising, and earning money for those with certain fan base. Moreover, he now understood why Park Min-young intentionally approached him at the beginning of the party. Unfazed, he questioned, "Excuse me for interrupting. If I'm not mistaken, you're seeking my assistance, right? While it can be said so, I believe your investment in us would be a success, because we genuinely have great potential." Park Jimin added provocatively, "So you're asking for my help, right?" Park Min-young momentarily choked, rendered speechless. Afterward, she exclaimed, "Yes, I'm asking for your assistance. I'm begging you, alright? Are you satisfied?" Having spoken, a sense of injustice welled up within Park Min-young, causing her to silently curse in her mind. Damn it, with money, one can do anything. Treat me like this, just because you have it. Observing the once proud Park Min-young now having to humble herself, Park Jimin couldn't help but smirk. His gaze became more ruthless. "No need to act so high and mighty. Do you think you're worth a lot? Sometimes you have to beg me like this to know what it's like to beg." The more he thought this way, the more Park Jimin wanted to tease her. He leaned in close to Park Min-young, lifted her hair, and with a mocking glint in his eyes, he taunted, "Miss Park, when you beg someone, you should do it with the right attitude. Sometimes, to achieve something, you have to sacrifice something. Do you understand what when Park Min-young faced Park Jimin, she could sense his breath and the faint fragrance of shampoo on him. She blushed slightly, furrowing her brows, and a sense of unease surged within her. The chauffeur, who had observed everything through the rearview mirror, understood upon hearing this. Park Jimin is indeed a scoundrel. He's trying to take advantage of this opportunity to dominate that beautiful girl. This scene made him feel sorry for the girl and silently curse Park Jimin in his mind. This guy is truly despicable. A disgusting, low-life scumbag. Meanwhile, Park Min-young couldn't help but nurture resentment towards Park Jimin. Just a while ago, she thought Park Jimin seemed to have depth and a profound soul. Little did she know that his character was so despicable. Suddenly, Park Min-young turned and slapped Park Jimin's face, exclaiming, "Park Jimin, you are truly a destructive person. You even want to sleep with me. Do you realize how wrong that is towards Kim Jisoo?" Park Jimin just wanted to tease Park Min-young a bit, but her reaction was so intense that it caught him off guard. However, what he didn't expect was that she could come up with such dark thoughts. Fortunately, his reaction was quick and sharp, surpassing that of 3 ordinary people, so he managed to stop that thunderous slap. Despite successfully blocking the slap, Park Min-young's goodwill towards him continued to decline. Park Min-young's friendliness subtracts 5. Park Min-young's friendliness subtracts 5. Park Min-young's friendliness subtracts 5. When the system notified, Park Jimin was at a loss for words. This woman really doesn't know how to joke. He had to change his attitude towards her. "Sleeping with you is a laugh, Miss Park. You've overestimated yourself. I have no interest in such cold-hearted women like you." Upon hearing Park Jimin's words, Park Min-young suddenly felt that she was no longer a beautiful woman, but just an ordinary woman sitting next to him. This made her widen her eyes in astonishment. Subsequently, Park Min-young suddenly became more reserved. However, the tone still carried a fierce reprimand. "Park Jimin, you don't want to sleep with me. Then what do you mean?" Park Jimin looked at Park Min-young with a cold and indifferent gaze, then slightly smirked with a hint of sarcasm. "Do you think the world revolves around you? If you want an investment, I have to invest in you. We've only met twice, not that close. And the last time, you misunderstood me, never even apologized. Do you ever respect me?" Park Jimin's words chilled Park Min-young, wanting to respond but hesitating, unable to put her thoughts into words. "I didn't tonight, clearly." After uttering a few words, Park Min-young's voice suddenly diminished. Almost unable to speak any longer, she bit her lip, trying to suppress the rising anger within her. But just a moment later, she couldn't bear it any longer, angrily exclaimed, "Fine, I understand your point. I'll bear the humiliation for myself. I'm leaving. Driver, stop here." After speaking, Park Min-young suddenly turned her attention outside. She saw that outside the car window, instead of the tall buildings of the city, there were desolate fields and a smaller road resembling the outskirts. At this moment, Park Min-young felt a bit anxious and looked up at the driver, asking, "Where are we? Isn't this the way to Havard?" Finishing her sentence, Park Jimin also furrowed his brows while looking outside. He noticed something was amiss too. Park Jimin glanced at the rearview mirror, directing a cold gaze towards the driver. The driver, wearing a brimmed hat, tall and muscular, with hands marked by numerous scars, had a square jaw, but exceptionally cold and unfriendly eyes. Immediately, Park Jimin realized that in the midst of arguing with Park Min-young, he had neglected to be cautious. The taxi driver hadn't inquired about their destination. Instead, he just started the engine and drove off. The taxi was going the wrong way, deviating from the direction of Havard and venturing deeper into deserted roads. Thinking this, Jimin could only bitterly smile. No matter how you go with her, it never turns out well, running into robbers like this. Hearing Park Min-young's words, the taxi driver abruptly slammed on the brakes. The taxi came to a stop in the middle of the desolate road. Shortly after, two vans from behind rushed forward, and simultaneously, another van appeared in front, blocking the taxi's path, preventing the driver from escaping, anticipating that the other party might try to control the driver and flee. And with that, the story ends here. If you guys see the next part of this story, tell me in the comment below. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Gotcha.